Ye.
Hello, Strim.
Hello, Strim. Ooh. God, I'm looking through the chat and all I see is just Buscemi.
The fucking
Jesus
Buscemi.
Christ. Alright.
Fucking Buscemi. Oh. Hey, Cal. Cal.
What a miss.
Cal.
What did I miss? What did you do?
I have to re-download it.
Ah, for the love of God. Well, start re-downloading it.
Ooh.
Oh, dearie, dearie, dear alien. Oh, dearie, dearie, dear. Why? Just why, alien?
Because I thought we were gonna be done with it.
Alright, how long is it gonna take to reinstall?
It says about 40 minutes.
Alright, fucking fine.
Oh.
How about this? Let's play some
I
Horde,
do, I
goddammit.
Oh, you're still going with
Well, yeah, I started it. Can't exactly end it now.
Calvin, I'm confused about the whole Discord thing you put.
So, essentially, to explain it in the easiest way possible.
That's a lot of hexagons.
Yeah, so essentially, there's this new thing in Destiny 2 called the Corridors of Time. It's essentially the place you went through whenever you did the Saint 14 missions this season, if you ever did them. But it's this like white space in Mercury where essentially you walk through these hallways and then you enter this room. And then normally in the missions that were before this, you would hop into the room and there'd only be like one exit. And then you'd go through that way because it was based on story missions. However, with the reset that happened on Tuesday, Osiris gave us a mission to basically explore it freely. And players found out that certain pathways were lined with symbols inside of the actual like maze. So apparently they figured out that they had to walk through the pathways in a certain order. Thankfully, the obelisk exists, and they figured out that with every hour that cycled over, there would be a new like 7 symbol code showing up on all of the obelisks. And they essentially could use that code and walk it through the maze, and they would end up at this neat, weird little area where there's like this gravestone. And they like don't know what exactly is going on with it. It may have been data mined already, but essentially they walk up and then it gives them a prompt to hold X, and they hold X, and then they look below the floor and there's this magic hexagon below them that is essentially like the node of a map, and it says like shows a bunch of connectors and all that. And people found out that there was 19 specific like normal pathways that you can go in, and each of them result in like a lore piece related to like Saint 14 and Osiris and all that jazz. But people managed to take those 19 nodes that showed up there, and they plopped them in, and they figured out this little maze that showed up when you put all of the codes together. And then when they traced their route through the maze, it wound up giving them a special emblem called Savior of the Past. Or at least that's how it would have gone if people hadn't already brute forced that emblem code like 3 hours prior. But
Yeah.
by that point the map made sense. However, when people got the emblem code and looked down at the hexagon that shows up during that path, it's seemingly random for everybody. It's not like a base code for everyone. But so essentially for the last few days they have been collecting codes. And each individual one of those hexagons you see in that picture is an individual code that someone got from running the emblem route through the corridors of time. So essentially they're trying to link them together to create some sort of master code for this. And so that's what they're looking
Dude, that... Can we talk about National Treasure 3?
I'm excited, alright? I'm fucking
I'm excited
hyped.
too.
National Treasure 3, baby.
Nicolas Cage, baby.
I'm back.
Nicolas Cage,
What up?
baby.
National Treasure 3.
We get started the.
Yeah, we started the
Michael,
stream.
here's the thing.
I'm gonna watch it.
Here. I can't.
What did I miss?
Alien, just say it, damn it.
I uninstalled it.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah, hello, Ziggy. Welcome. We're planning to play some Gears 2. Me and Alien are partway through a co-op run-through of the campaign, but unfortunately Mixer decided to just completely annihilate our last part of this campaign a few months ago. So now we're redoing it, but now we have to wait until Alien re-downloads the game because he uninstalled it. So
Oh, Denver, I got Prominence Poker.
you got that? Neat.
Yeah, I set up my profile and shit, and it had a tutorial, which was nice. Except all it did was tell you how the game works, not how to actually play poker.
Alright.
See, I know.
Damn it.
Hey, if you want to raise your bet, this is how you do it. Hey, if you want to do this, this is how you do it. It did not tell me what my cards meant when I was going through the tutorial.
Okay.
It did not explain what
Alright, you know what?
certain
I guess while
terms
we're
meant.
waiting, I'm gonna try to explain poker to Michael. Okay, here we go. This is gonna be interesting.
The stream
seeing
has
as we
gone
gotta
out
sit
of
through-
control.
It's
Alien, how
gonna
long we got
fucking
until
go
Gears 2
right out.
downloads?
It's gonna go
Like
one
30
out
minutes.
the other.
30 minutes? I
Oh,
can
boy.
explain poker in 30 minutes. Here we go. So,
Do you want to start Prominence Poker while we're...
no. I'm gonna sit here at Gears 2.
Alright, let me get my notes. Hold on.
If you want, you can watch the stream as well. I don't know what you're gonna watch, but... Okay, so
Yeah.
here's how poker works, alright? I'm gonna explain to you Texas Hold'em, alright? Because that's the method of prominence poker. That's how they do it there. So Texas Hold'em
Alright, I got
is
my
a
notes
variation
ready.
of poker where essentially...
How do you spell Texas?
Are you,
Michael, are you
kidding me,
serious?
Michael? Are you fucking
I'm
kidding
kidding.
me?
Michael, are
I'm
you
fucking with you.
serious?
I'm fucking
You really
with
just
you.
asked that question.
Texas Hold'em, alright.
I'm gonna play some Horde while I explain this to you.
Okay.
Imagine if he was being serious for a second.
Dear God.
Is there
Alright.
2 X's in Texas?
Oh my
Alright,
god,
I'm gonna play
Michael.
best map. Take it. You know what, Hoffman? Fine. Okay. Are you ready for the explanation, Michael?
Do it.
All right. So Texas Hold'em is essentially all about you as the person using your pocket cards and the cards that are on the table to create the best set of 5 cards that you can. And essentially, that might seem complicated, but essentially, the goal of everyone at the table is to like use probability and all that to try to get the best hand humanly possible. The way it starts is with your whole cards. Whenever the round starts...
And everyone can see your face cards and the pocket cards. No one else can see them.
No one can see your pocket cards. Alright?
Okay.
Nobody can see the... Actually, you know what? Before this goes too far, I may want to turn down the game a little bit. So yeah, essentially, whenever you start a round, you'll be given 2 cards. Nobody else can see them. They're your pocket cards. Alright? So you can't show them to anybody. You can't do anything with them to show them to anybody. They're just yours to keep. Those are your 2 cards. And essentially, after everyone gets those 2 cards...
And how long do I keep those cards?
You keep them as long as the round goes. So essentially, those cards are yours for that round. And depending on how good the cards are, you can either decide to fold them immediately, or you can like keep them and see how it goes with the rest of the round.
Bring it.
There we go.
Wait, keep the pocket cards or keep the face cards?
Keep the pocket cards. The face card. I haven't even gotten to the face cards yet, so this is just at the start of the round. Whenever you start the round,
oh boy,
you'll be given 2 pocket cards, and those are your cards to keep. After a round of betting, if you're still in it, then this is where the face cards on the table come in. After everyone who wants to keep their pocket cards has decided to keep them for that round, the dealer will drop 3 new cards onto the table. I think the set of 3 that they drop is called the flop at the beginning. I forget if it's correct or not. I think it's the flop, then the turn, then the river. So the first 3 that are dropped are known as the flop. And essentially, this is where that 5 set I told you about comes in. Essentially, whatever your 2 pocket cards are, plus those 3 in the flop, that is your current 5 set. There will be 2 cards placed on the table after that, for a total of 5 cards on the table and 2 in your hand. Whatever the best collection of 5 cards are, is like your set for that round. And your goal is to create certain patterns with all 7 of those cards collectively to essentially make like a good set of cards. So like,
so the pocket plus the flop is your new set. Where are those other 2 cards to make 7?
So yeah, I'm getting to those. So they're gonna drop a set of 3, and then it's another round of betting. I'll explain betting at a later date. But after that round of betting, they'll drop a 4th one called the turn. And that's essentially the 4th card, then it's another round of betting, and then it's the 5th card, which is called the river. And then once all 5 of those, final bets are placed, and then after that, everybody reveals what cards they have, and whoever has the best setup wins. And the best setup...
Hold on 1 second.
The best... Oh, okay.
So you're given 2 pocket cards at the beginning, 1 round of betting, then you get the flop with 3 new cards, and then another round of betting, and then...
One more card.
What was the 4th? The turn, okay. This 4th card called turn, and then the last one was called another round of betting, then the river.
Yes, the river is the 5th card that gets placed on the table. You can't switch the cards with your what's in your pocket. You got to keep your pocket for the entirety of the round.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the flop turn river, you replace your face cards with that.
No. Essentially, like it starts as 3 get put on the table, and then the turn is the 4th card that gets placed on the table. And then the river is the 5th card that gets placed on the table. And essentially, as those cards are placed down, you're just trying to make the best set of stuff you can.
And is that just by having. Wait, so the cards, the dealer cards, so everyone gets those cards?
Yes, everyone can use those cards in their set. Your pocket cards are the ones that only you can use.
Okay.
So it's like, even though there's a really good setup, like on your... Even if there's a really good setup on the table, depending on what cards you have, your setup could be the best because of those cards that you and yourself only have.
Yeah.
What more explanation?
I
do you
kind
need
of
after
understand how betting works. Is like,
Yeah,
if
betting
you
itself
realize
is
you're
very
getting a
strange.
good hand. Yeah, like as you're realizing you're getting a good hand, you try to raise the bet to get people to kind of.
Yeah, that's everything related to like bluffing and like all that stuff. But again, you don't need to worry about betting completely. I'm just telling you mostly just the basics of the game currently.
Yeah.
This war's gonna
So,
be over
okay.
in no time, boys.
How do you like change your cards to make the set you want, or does it do that automatically?
You don't change the cards. Like, this is the thing with poker, is that it's mostly about luck and strategy. So, like, say at the start of a round, you get given like a pair. Like, right in your whole card. Your whole card is a pair. That's already pretty good. Because your goal with like that 5 set is to make the best set of 5 possible. So if you already have a pair,
the
that's a pretty good
instructions,
start.
and it was telling me like all the different sets you can have and all the names.
Well, yeah. So essentially, if you have that pair, odds are you're going to stick with it. But then the next 3 cards, so the flop comes. The flop essentially makes your current set of 5. So, for instance, if there's another pair on the floor, you already have 2 pair to your person. However, another person on the table that didn't have a pair in their pocket will only have 1 pair now, because of what's on the table, plus or minus whatever they have in their pocket that you can't see. So that's all. That's essentially like the whole game of poker. Is you got to try to gauge what the other person has, even though you won't know what the other person has. It's purely just off of betting, bluffing, and all that.
Yeah.
But then,
I think I understand.
but then take into account that your 5 set will change with the turn and the river. So, in the same instance, say like you're already at 2 pair, but then say it gets to the river, and then one of your pairs turns into a 3 of a kind. Well, then now you have a full house because you have that 3 of a kind and a 2 of a kind, making a full house.
Yes.
So that's your setup. That other person that didn't have the pair to start out with, he could potentially also have a full house based off of other stuff that he has, but again, that's the part of like gauging the odds of certain things happening. You sort of have to weigh that and essentially, act accordingly. But essentially, once you get to the end of
video game that we're gonna be playing on, it's harder to check to look at other people's emotions.
Yeah, I know. Again, it'll all make sense whenever we actually play Farmers Poker, because they do a pretty good job at just sort of gauging it and like just sort of showing you exactly what's the best part. It makes everything a lot easier, right? But yeah, at the end of the round, after everyone's had their cards and everyone's gotten that, essentially what happens is everyone checks it and sees their setup. And based on what setup you have, it all works in sort of like a ladder. So it's like if you have just a pair, that's one of the simplest things you can have. The simplest thing you can have is just a high card, meaning that your cards
Which is
plus
none of
the
them are
table.
related.
Yeah, essentially there's no setup that you can make with your cards, so all you have is your high card. So that's it. Like you get beaten out by a pair at that point.
Yeah.
So like then it goes to pair, and then I think it goes to.
It goes pair, then 2
I think it goes
pair,
pair, and then like 2 pairs. 3 of a kind is higher than that because 3 of a kind is actually less likely. And then it goes to like full house, and then there's a flush where a flush.
So
is
wait,
where...
is 3 of a kind? Can that be like 3 clubs, or can
No,
and also
it's
like
purely
4
based
3
on like a
sevens?
specific card, like 3 aces or 3 twos or 3 threes. That's a 3 of a kind.
So
A
not
flush,
by
however,
the-
a flush, however, is a set of 5 cards that is in the same suit.
of the same house. Oh,
Yeah.
suit, sorry. Okay.
And then there's also a straight,
Think.
where it's essentially like the cards 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in any order show up on the table. And so that's what a straight is.
So I could have a 7 of clubs and a 7 of hearts, and I would have a pair.
Yes, that's a pair.
Got it.
Or you could have a 7 of clubs in your pocket, and there could be a 7 on the table. Altogether, you have a pair.
Right.
then.
As long as I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Pairs, numbers, house.
I know there's an actual like ladder you can look up that shows like
And I think
The
isn't the
actual
highest like a 10 Jack King Queen or whatever?
yeah 10
the
Jack
same
Queen
suit.
King, and then I think in prominence Ace is high. So depending on what poker game you're playing, aces can be low, aces can be high. So in prominence, aces are
I
high.
think I understand better now. It explained none of that, and the description it does give, if you go into the help options, is just so complicated.
Yeah,
Like there's
but
a
essentially
button and
you
shit,
get pocket
and I was
cards,
like,
you
what?
combine those with the cards that show up on the table, and you make patterns.
So
and
does
the
the
better
game do that
pattern you get-
automatically?
Whoever has the best pattern wins all the cash.
Yes, yeah. So, but does the game like set up your? I mean, I know it's all random, but like, does the game put together the best set on?
Yes, the game automatically like looks through your cards and creates
You
the
just
best
need to
set
make
when
sure
it
you're
comes to it.
looking at it. And being
Yeah,
like,
you just gotta know the sets by the time the end comes.
yeah. That's
Alien, how long are we looking?
50%.
50%? Okay, cool.
we
Almost
managed
there.
to explain poker.
I explained poker with
for
like
15
50%
minutes or
remaining.
Be
That's
over in
pretty
no
good.
time, boys.
All right, now we gotta talk about something else.
No, I can still like throw poker at you.
Oh God, there's more.
Well, I gotta somewhat explain the betting process. Okay. So at the start of
I think
every
I
round,
kind of
essentially,
understood
with poker, like you always there could be a point where if people want to just hoard their money, or if people just want to like keep their money forever, they could just automatically fold every time. There's a certain way
yeah,
that
okay.
that gets
What does
mixed.
fold and I never asked that. Like, what is the fold and all those?
Fold
other
means that
things
you
mean?
essentially ditch your cards and they get thrown back to the dealer. You're essentially out for the round after that. However much money you already betted, though, still stands. You don't get the money back.
Okay, so if you're like, my odds are not very good. I don't want to bet any more money in the next rounds, but you'll keep the
Yeah.
money that's
So, yeah, essentially, like if you like say you get your cards at the beginning and they're like a freaking 2 and a 10, like they're not very good in your opinion. You can decide to fold them right there, and assuming you're not a person who played the blinds at the beginning, you essentially get out of that round with no money, and you essentially get to keep your cash. You don't lose a whole lot.
I don't lose as much
But
as
in
you
comparison, it could be, say, the final round of betting, and you're up against one person who decides to go all in and throw all of their money in. If you decide to fold then, you automatically lose all of the money that you've already betted, because it's already in the pot.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's the fold thing. Now, with that in mind, I'll tell you about the betting process. When the game starts, you'll be given like your 2 pocket cards. While this is going on, there's actually a button that goes around the table. It's just what they call it, pretty much. But the purpose of the button is to denote blinds, because as I explained before, there's people who could just fold every turn and just not participate at all. The blinds are there to essentially ensure that the game will eventually come to an end, because people will constantly throw money into the pot. The way the blinds work is whoever the button is passed to, the person on the right pays what's called a big blind, which is when the game starts out, it's mostly like just 100 chips, or it might vary depending on how much money is on the table. And then the next person over is the small blind. They essentially pay half of that. After those are paid, everyone else has to gauge their cards as to whether or not they want to be in the round. If they want to be in the round, they have to match what was paid with the big blind, or essentially what's called a call. Whenever you call, you essentially throw enough money into the pot to match the current highest
I'm trying
bet
to
on
write
the
this
table.
down as fast as I can.
It'll all
So-
make sense when we actually play it. Don't worry. I'm just giving
Yeah,
you a quick
so
overview.
big blinds is the person that starts the round, and small blinds are the next people.
Big blind is
Half.
typically like the person to the left of the dealer whenever they rotate around. But again, it doesn't matter too much. The blinds are just mostly in place to make sure that people can't just sit in the back and not do anything for the game. It essentially forces the person to play money as they go around the table. That's the whole point of the blinds.
And then,
So what?
so if you want to
after
play
the
next
blinds
round, you
are
have to
paid,
play the.
it essentially goes around to all the players at the table, and if they decide they want to be in, like their whole cards look good and whatnot, they do what's called a call, and whenever a person calls, they match the current highest bet. So in this case, the blind is the highest bet, so they call whatever the blind is. Calling essentially makes it so they take their bet to the current max bet that's on the table. However, if a person is already at the max bet, or the bet for the round hasn't been raised at all, they do what's called a check, where they essentially just say, yes, I'm still in, but I'm not throwing in any more money. And that's what's called a check. However, somebody can do something and they can raise. Whenever somebody raises, all players in the table have to match their current raise. Otherwise, they have to fold. Or they can raise even higher, which they only do if they're insane.
Okay. So raise makes all other players.
Yes. So
Pay?
if
Is that what
one
it is?
person raises, the entire table has to raise and call to their raise. So essentially, that's what the whole shtick is.
Call or fold.
So yeah, at that point, they either have
Got
to
it.
call or fold. Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
And essentially, the round of betting ends whenever somebody raises, and then everyone either calls or folds after that. And if there's more than one person still remaining, so if somebody raised and then a few people called that, then it moves on to the next round, where the next set of cards drops. And then the cycle repeats again.
Got it. Okay.
So that's how the betting rounds work. Essentially, everybody calls to reach a max bet. If somebody raises, the entire table has to raise along with them until everybody's on the same page.
So you can raise if you had a very good set.
So yeah, like if you started out and you said, okay, yeah, I have a very good set. If somebody else raises, odds are you have to wager that. It's like, I know my set is good. Is it good enough to, stick in the game and throw more money in? Because
Yeah.
remember, if you fold, you lose all the money you've already thrown in. So you gotta take that
Yeah.
into account.
Alright.
Back in your hole.
Phew, this game is complicated.
It makes a hell of a lot more sense. I can't show
Yeah.
you without like an actual description. Like an actual description
I'm
makes a
getting it.
hell of a lot more sense. But yeah,
This is why
certain
when
sticks
if I
with
ever
betting.
go into a casino.
I'll
I'm
just
gonna
tell you
play
these little
slots.
sticks are like the money amount for betting, but you don't really need to remember what I'm about to say. But certain sticks with betting is that whenever you raise, you always have to raise to at least double of what the current bet is. So like say it's the beginning of the match and someone throwed in 100 chips as part of their blind. If you want to raise it, the minimum that you can raise it
War's
by
gonna be over in
is up
no
to 200.
time, boys.
That's the minimum that you can raise it. You can't just throw in another 10. No, you have to raise it to at least the amount that's currently there.
Is Kanan.
And hence, if somebody decides to raise upon that, they then have to double that offer. So essentially, if it started at 100 and somebody raised to 2, if someone wanted to raise it further, they would have to raise it to 4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the shtick with like the money part of betting.
Oof.
Oh shit, that's a ticker.
I wonder if they have.
I'm dead.
Oh, you finally died. It was when you stopped explaining poker. You finally died.
Yeah, that went well. To be fair, I'm playing on normal alone, and Gears 2 Horde is notorious. Well, yeah.
Let's see if they have blackjack somewhere in the store. I know blackjack. That one's very simple.
Yeah,
compared to-
blackjack's very simple. Hold'em poker is
It's
a little more complicated.
hit 21, don't go above.
Yeah,
Try to beat the dealer. He's
I
explaining poker.
I am explaining poker to Michael while I'm waiting for Alien to re-download Gears of War 2. Yeah. Fuck is 3-card poker again?
There
Oh,
is
that's-
a blackjack game.
Oh, that's where it's 3 pocket cards and then the 5.
It even has a fucking trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's a bunch of variations of poker, Michael, that make it very strange. One of them is called Omaha, where it's similar to Texas Hold'em, except you get 4 cards in your pocket, plus the 5 on the board, so you kind of have to gauge your best set with all of that. But Texas Hold'em keeps it to just 2 and 5. It's pretty simple. Alien, how close are we looking?
They have one blackjack game.
I have
and
no
it
idea.
looks shitty. No, wait, no, there's more. Super Blackjack Battle 2. What is this?
Just don't. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
This trailer is awesome. Okay, want to hear the whole title of this game?
What is the whole title?
Super Blackjack Battle 2 Turbo Edition.
No, thank you.
It's got
Caden,
2.5
I'm
stars
teaching
with
Michael a
10
little bit about
ratings.
poker because we've decided that we maybe want to have a poker night at some point, and we're going to run it through Prominence Poker. Yeah, because it's a free game on the Xbox. Well, yeah, if you want to download it and jump in with us, like, you can. So, yeah. I actually don't know when we want to do it. Prominence
off
Poker.
Prominence If you just type in poker, it's just like the only free one.
Yeah.
Or might just be the only one on the store, actually. What is this game? I'm so intrigued by this.
Hmm.
Nah, just
Prominence
just
Poker is
Texas.
just Texas Hold'em primarily.
It's cool though because you can buy accessories and like stuff to put on the table and shit, and you basically gamble that money to like get accessories. And there's also loot boxes apparently.
Yeah.
What new games have come out? Red Bow.
Your new
Wait a minute,
hotness.
Is this that one? What the fuck?
Yeah, what is actually no, I'm gonna look up a like poker ladder real quick. Just to give you an idea.
God damn it.
Here we go. Poker hands from lowest to highest. So the lowest you can have is a high card. So
Just
essentially,
not noticed?
your cards don't match anything, really. After that, it's a pair. So essentially,
Yeah.
all you have is just a pair. So 2 cards that are like. After that is a 2 pair, where you make it so that like there's 2 pairs of cards, like 2 different pairs. Then it's 3 of a kind, where you get 3 cards of the same like number. And then after that, it's a straight, where you build 5 cards in sequence. Two pair. No, 3 of a kind beats it out because 3 of a kind is technically less likely to happen in probability. So after a straight is a flush, where it's a 5 set of the same suit. So like 5 clubs, 5 diamonds. Are you trying to get
I've
it
been
off your
having problems
computer?
with the shop too.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been having problems with that as well.
Yeah,
Like, where
downloads
I'd
have
click
been
get,
off for me
and then-
lately.
Downloads
Yeah,
is being weird. So after a flush is a full house. So essentially a pair and a 3 of a kind together. That makes a full house. After that, it becomes 4 of a kind. So essentially 4 of the same suit, which is already unlikely. Then after that, it's what's called a straight flush, where it's a straight in sequence of like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but it's all the same suit. And then the best card in poker, which I think is like a 1 in 65,000 chance of happening, is a royal flush, where it's 10, jack, queen, king, ace, all same suit. So that's what that is. Yeah, I've never seen that happen. Yeah. Mm. Alien, how close we looking?
64.
60. What? I'm guessing you're doing stuff that's slowing it down.
Yep.
All right. God, I don't know what to do, honestly.
I'm looking at
You know what? I'll stop the stream here because this is pretty much just me explaining poker.
yeah. Yeah, this is you gotta name this stream, like when you upload it to YouTube, you gotta name it Explaining Poker. That's just all it was.
Audio hasn't been